This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Hey guys, Big Paul here. Today we're going to talk about Dr. Mike Israetel's take on your first cycle, that it should be an oral-only cycle with Anavar. I was not going to do a video on this one because I like Dr. Mike, and he's probably my favorite resource on training and bodybuilding stuff. I really like Dr. Mike a lot, and I think his opinions are well thought out, research, science-based. He's one of the smartest guys out there. I run one of his training programs, or something similar to one of his training programs, and I really think he's probably the sharpest dude out there in bodybuilding. I don't know if he's the best when it comes to PEDs. There are other guys that are smarter, but I do really respect and hold Dr. Mike in high regard. So today we're going to talk about my thoughts on his 50 milligram Anavar, or actually I don't think he said 50 milligrams. I think it was like 20 or 30 milligrams of Anavar for a first cycle. I had 50 in my head because that seems like a logical dose to start off with. But when I first started doing cycles, I mostly did oral only. I think the first couple of years, I think I just did oral only cycles, and I did some really stupid shit with them. D-ball and Anadrol usually. There was no Anavar available when I was young. It was D-ball and Anadrol. That was really it. And let me tell you, I think I wasted my time on both. I didn't get shit out of it, except for a bad case of gyno. All they did was bloat me up, make me strong for a few weeks, and then I'd come off when I ran out and keep none of the gains, and it was really a waste of time. It wasn't until I met Dante Trudell when I started doing a proper test blast and cruise type cycle that I actually started making real gains. So I don't know, but we'll dig into it here in a second. I'll give you my thoughts on it. I do think starting off with oral only is a viable option if you just want to dip your toe in the pool, and I think that's what Dr. Mike is kind of alluding to here. And I would agree with that. If you're unsure, you don't want to take a chance, you're just kind of want to know what it feels like, certainly running a short oral only cycle with Anavar is the safest oral. It is an option that you can consider, but we'll talk about it in just 1 second.
It's a good idea to ease into steroids if you're going to do them at all. This exposes you to minimal risk, and it really tests your individual response to steroids, to drugs, so that you can back off, be like, fuck that, that's not for me, or push ahead if it really is for you without paying a huge cost up front.
Okay, so exactly what I was saying here. He's just saying it's a way to dip your toe in the pool, to ease in, try it out, see how your individual response is to steroids. Now, I will say this. I don't know that Anavar is a good indicator of how your response is going to be to different anabolics. Everybody responds differently to various compounds, and I've seen it over and over and over again. And some people, Anavar is pretty innocuous. Most people tolerate Anavar very well. I haven't yet run across anybody who doesn't tolerate Anavar well. I've had some people that have issues with back pumps. But for the most part, Anavar is pretty well tolerated. But it is, I don't know, in my opinion, it's not a good litmus test of how you're going to respond to other compounds. Every compound is unique in its own way, and your response to them is unique.
How not to ease in is to take the standard Reddit advice, no offense, Redditors, you're great for many other things, of fucking start injecting 250 to 500 mgs a test for 16 weeks, or fucking D-ball front load, stupid shit like that. And per the forums, you got to have PCT on hand for sides.
Yeah, he's right here. The worst place to get fucking advice is from the forums. And it did make me smile when he said stupid shit like front loading with D-ball. Oh my god, it makes me feel good hearing him say that, because that is one of the dumbest bro things that bros do, is front loading with cycles with D-ball. Thank God Dr. Mike agrees with me on that one, and most people that have been at this for a while, you talk to them, and it's just a fucking stupid way of doing things. But he cracked me up. Reddit is a horrible place full of horrible information, and I would not take anything seriously that you get from there or on many of the message boards about cycles. There's so much stupid shit. I just laugh every time I read this stuff.
There are problems with this approach of just starting injectable drugs. I counted at least 6 of these problems. First, you have to inject stuff into your body. The needle is very long. It is very scary. You got to pull out of a vial. You got to put the shit in your body. There's blood. It hurts. It always blows. Trust me. It always blows. It just blows a little bit less over years. So the first several months is going to be fucking awful unless you're needle happy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him. Giving shots sucks. That's one of the things I look forward to the most when I go on cruise, because I usually just scale down to doing shots twice a week. When I'm on blast, I do them every day. And it does suck. It gets old. There are ways that you can ease it and make it easier. Like, I've been backloading insulin syringes. You could do subcutaneous shots. Intramuscular shocks do suck, and I know a lot of people are afraid of needles. I'm not a fan of them myself, be honest with you, but it is a shitty part of it, and it does suck. But generally, injecting is a safer way to do it as far as toxicity goes. But, I don't know. Don't be a pussy. If you're going to do them, you got to inject. It's just something you got to get fucking over.
Second point. If you start this injection of testosterone, you won't feel much for multiple weeks. So you'll just be like, I guess I'm using steroids, don't know what's happening. And so that sucks. For 4 to 6 weeks, only 4 to 6 weeks later will you feel like the full power of the drugs that are in your body. So you got to wait a while to even see if it's fucking worth your time. And if you don't like what's going on, like let's say you get some health problems, crazy acne, psychoanxiety or something like that, which is pretty common, you'll have to put up with it for like at least 2 or 3 weeks, even if you stop cold turkey right then and there, because like testosterone ester is like an anthocyanate, which is typically what you start with in this not so great idea model. Then
Yeah, he talks about the time that it takes for the ester, if you're using a longer ester like an anthate or cypionate, to build up in your system, that it's going to take a while for it to hit in before you actually feel it. So 4 to 6 weeks, it's about right. But there is a solution for this. Use a faster ester. Do a propionate ester. Do test prop. Do nandrolone prop if you want quicker results. If you want to get in and out quick, that's the answer. Use a faster ester. So I don't know why I didn't bring that one up. I don't know if you didn't consider that or what, but that's how you fix that problem.
My advice is to do something like the following. If you're insisting on doing this and it's legal in your country, et cetera, and you're not cheating at sports, you can start with an oral like Anavar, which is one of the safest drugs that they have. That doesn't mean it's safe, it's the safest. At like 20 to 40 milligrams per day. By the way, this advice is exclusively for males. I'll get into the female stuff in a bit. For like 3 or 4 weeks.
His advice is if you're just dipping the toe in the pool, just to stay away from injectables like testosterone and start off with Anavar. That way you're not dealing with the suppression that comes along with it. You're not dealing with the potential side effects. I mean, Anavar is pretty low on side effects, that is for sure. I don't know what he's talking about with anxiety with testosterone. I've never seen anybody experience anxiety with testosterone. If you do, it's from estrogen being too high, which is pretty easily mitigated with an AI. But, once again, that's just another drug you got to fuck with. So I get what he's saying here. So you're just dealing with one compound, Anavar. And I have seen studies where Anavar, I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere around 30 milligrams, if you stay under that number, that it is not that suppressive for like short periods of time, 4 to 6 weeks. So you can run it and, you're not completely suppressed and you can recover. If you run short esters with testosterone, I know testosterone is very suppressive, but guys can recover pretty quickly. And there's a lot of studies now that I've seen it, you can look it up, but that have shown where PCT doesn't make much of a difference in long-term recovery from natural testosterone levels anyway when you've been on. It doesn't make a huge difference. I forget the name of the study, but I saw one where it was 6 months and the recovery was almost identical. It does help you recover quicker. And there's also the issue with HCG now, a lot of it being fake. The FDA banned it. So there's HCG is hard to come by these days. But yeah, I mean, I get where he's coming from here, and I think it's a viable option. And I have suggested it to people before that they if they're just wanting to test the waters, dip their toe in the pool to start off with Anavar. So I'd agree with him there. I mean, I think, if you're going to commit to being a bodybuilder and you want to get on the stage and you're hell-bent on doing it, I would just jump into the deep end of the pool and just start off with a test cycle. That's my 2 cents. You're not going to get shit out of running Anavar for 4 weeks. I'm sorry, you just aren't. You're going to get to feel what it feels like. You might get some pumps, you might gain a little bit of strength, but as far as long-term accrual of new muscle tissue and generating muscle protein synthesis, 4 weeks of 30 milligrams of Anavar isn't going to do shit for you. Sorry, just not going to. It's just been my experience. You're not going to gain much of anything off of that.
All right. So what are the upsides of doing something like this instead of starting to inject long ester testosterone? First, you don't have to inject shit. You just swallow a pill twice a day, AM, PM. Easiest fucking thing in the world. Second, you will feel the effects within a few days. You feel orals faster typically. And within just about a week or so, you'll feel kind of the full power of the orals. It doesn't mean they're going to give you all the benefits right away, but psychologically and in the gym, you'll feel like, oh, okay, shit's happening, right? And you don't have to wait 3 to 4 weeks. It's just like a week, which if shit goes south, you can cut faster.
Well, once again, if you want fast results, just use a fast ester. Just use propionate. Use Test Pro. And you can get, you'll feel that within a week. So I don't know. It seems like that escaped him for some reason. I don't know why he didn't think about that as an option. But, and yeah, you're going to have to inject, but don't be a pussy. No, I mean, totally. It's totally fine if you want to start with the Anavar, but if you want real long-term gains, if you're serious about being a bodybuilder, I don't think you're going to get shit out of this.
To that end, if you don't like what's going on and you stop taking the Anavar, just a few days later, you don't feel any of the bad things anymore. Okay, so if you really have super high anxiety from the shit, which is not uncommon, you stop taking it, a few days later, you're totally fine, which is with the injectable testosterone, it's going to fucking take weeks, and that's awful. So if you catch shit early and you don't like what you see, a week after taking Anavar or something like that, you're probably not getting your natural testosterone production shut down in any meaningful sense that doesn't take a couple days to come back. Nor do you have to put up with unwanted side effects for too long, which would be its own bad thing, right? Anxiety, depression, sexual dysfunction happens, anger, ultra high blood pressure, back pumps, acne, all this kind of shit happens from steroids within the first several weeks. And if you catch it early and cut it off, it can stop without you having to be like, oh shit, this shit is in my bloodstream for another 2-3 weeks. And I'm just getting more of the same for a while.
Again, if you're worried about super bad side effects and you want to get out quick, propionate, fast ester. Also, if you're running a low dose test, like 200 milligrams a test, usually you're not going to have terrible side effects. It's pretty mild. You may have some elevated blood pressure. Your estrogen may go up a bit, but it's not going to be anything crazy. I have not seen that. But testosterone is pretty well tolerated. I mean, it is the parent male sex hormone. It's identical to what your body already makes. So and Anavar is not. I've never heard of anybody getting anxiety from Anavar or testosterone. Like I said, if you do get anxiety from testosterone, it's probably from your estrogen going too high. And once again, just use a propionate ester if you want to get off quick.
Even if you do the entire 4 weeks of the cycle and you stop cold turkey, in most cases, within a few weeks later, full testosterone, serum testosterone is back. okay, or very close to full. Now, in some cases, if you read the research literature, some people take a long time. Some people never get their testosterone back normal. Those are very, very unlikely. So mostly it's fine. Most of the people who have ever dabbled with orals aren't like, yeah, man, whenever it came off, hasn't been the same. It's just not how it works. So you basically, in most cases, with something like Anavar, 20 to 40 mgs for a male for 3 to 4 weeks, when you come off, you just kind of feel normal after you come off. And there's not this like, oh man, 5 days after I'm like sleeping 12 hours a day, my dick won't get hard. It's just not a very common experience. Whereas if you come off cold turkey of like a 5 or 6 week cycle of testosterone, because it took you until week 3 or 4 to even feel much, and then you're like, oh fuck, I don't like this, you pull it out, you're going to be in for maybe a month or two of not feeling your best.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Anavar isn't that suppressive if you look at the studies, if you keep the doses low and the duration short. So he is correct about that. You probably come off of it and you're pretty much recovered in a couple weeks, or mostly recovered. I would imagine if you're running a short ester of testosterone and you're only running it for a few weeks and you need to bail quickly, probably the same situation. I mean, it's going to be similar. You're not going to be permanently shut down after 2 weeks of running test prop. The enanthate's going to take a while to clear your system, and let's say it has an 8-day half-life or whatever it is, and it takes 5 half-lives for it to clear your system. So you're talking about 40 days that it's still, that suppressive compound's still in your system. Whereas a propionate ester, something like 48-hour half-life, you're talking about 10 days, it's cleared. Anavar would be out in a couple days. So, yeah, I get what he's saying here.
What do you do after 3 or 4 weeks is over? Let's say you have a net positive experience. What do? You can't keep running orals because they're not so great for your liver. Also, running orals for forever, it's just not the greatest way, certainly health-wise and money-wise and overall anabolic throughput-wise, it's just not the best. So you don't continue to do that, but you can switch to injectables like testananthate or something like that, maybe some primobolan in addition to that, depending on how you do things. And you either plan to come off in 16 to 20 weeks later, or you do indefinite ramp, blast cruise, that sort of thing.
All right, so I didn't put the whole rest of the thing in here, but essentially what he goes into is he talks about, you saw the part where he said if you liked what you did, you can continue on with an injectable and see how it goes. And if you don't, then just don't do it again. Or wait, and try it again in a different phase. Try a different compound. See how it goes. I don't know that any other, to me, having done D-ball only cycles and Anadrol only cycles for a beginner are not good. Testosterone is way easier on you. D-ball and Anadrol are not beginner steroids. They just aren't. And, you guys know how I feel about D-ball. I think it's the trashiest, most side effect-laden steroid that you can use. Some people tolerate it well, but most people don't. I see it cause problems in more people than others, so I'm taking my opportunity to shit on D-ball here. But so his suggestion of trying another oral the next time around, I don't like. My final thoughts on all of this, so taking Anavar is a perfectly viable option if you're just dipping your toe in the pool. I would agree with that. All the points he makes here aren't necessarily wrong. It's quick in, quick out. Although you could fix that with choosing a propionate ester. Anavar is relatively side effect free, although I think testosterone pretty low on the side effects. I mean, Anavar can fuck up your lipids. Anavar does put some stress on the liver, whereas you're not going to have those issues with the low dose testosterone. And I still sort of disagree with him here. I think starting off on a low-dose testosterone, if you have somebody that's very timid and is unsure, they don't know how they're going to react, then use the propionate ester. The only thing that sucks about the propionate ester is you're going to have to do shots every other day for a beginner, which stinks. But that's an option to get in and out fast. But if you're just dipping your toe in the pool, you're a gym bro, you have no illusions about competing, then sure, why not? I just don't expect to get much out of it. You're not going to get shit out of a 4-week cycle. You just won't. It's just, it doesn't matter what you run. You're not going to get any appreciable mass or new muscle tissue from that. You're not really going to make any radical body composition changes in 4 weeks. You're just going to kind of feel what it feels like. And I think that's what he's getting at here. It's just a test drive. It's taking the car out around the block to see how it handles before you commit to buying it. And that's what he's saying. But I don't know that Anavar is a good test drive, because all these compounds are different. Testosterone feels different than Anavar does. Anavar is pretty mild. I don't even really notice that much when I'm on Anavar, to be honest with you. Testosterone has a different feel. So I think if you're going to be running a base of testosterone for the rest of your life, he talked about blasting and cruising as a potential long-term option, which I'm happy that he mentioned that, because I do think doing these cycles and then coming off for 6 weeks and then going back on with a PCT is monumentally stupid. I don't think it's worth doing a PCT and coming off unless you're going to do it for 6 months or more. Then it might make sense. But I think if testosterone is going to be your base, this is my logic, and you're committed to being a bodybuilder or a physique athlete, and that's what you're going to be running for the next 10 years while you compete, why not test testosterone out? Take it out for a test drive. If you're unsure, do a propionate ester. See how it goes, and you can quit at any time. And there's nothing to say that you have to run a 16-week cycle. Reevaluate. This is all week by week. You can't predict how things are going. This is why I don't like preformed cycles. Now, personally, I think you get the most out of a 16 to 20 week cycle if you want real gains. I mean, if you look at the time that it takes to actually have real muscle protein synthesis and muscle that sticks to you, that it takes that long. So it makes sense to run a cycle that long if you want to retain real tissue and not just the bloat that you get from some of the shittier steroids that people like to take. But I don't know. That's my 2 cents. I still think that doing a test-only cycle for first cycle probably makes more sense if you're going to be a long-term competitor. If you're just dipping your toe in the pool and you're scared, you just want to try it out, then Anavar is a perfectly viable option. I've had people do that before. I did orals. I did the shittiest orals, D-ball and Anadrol, so why not? Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. That's all I got for you. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.